Hi, everybody. My name is Igor Stanic, or as you better know me, Igor the Elder. I'm the hub manager for Cork, and I was nominated by Mr. Dragos Amishkulasei, who is, in my opinion, one of the best ever I have ever seen in action, and a top class person and a guy. Born 1971, Sarajevo, capital of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Sarajevo is a famous city. Started World War One down here. Assassination of Archduke Ferdinand, of course, probably most of you heard about that. And did my elementary school here, did my high school here, except for 2 years that I spent in United States. I finished my second and third grade in Louisville, Kentucky, in Ballard High School during the time of Ronald Reagan. After that, I was the last peaceful generation of Yugoslav army conscripts, and then I was enrolled in Sarajevo Law College. But then, unfortunately, the war started. All of you probably heard that, unfortunately, our country, former country, Yugoslavia, collapsed in a very tough manner of a huge bloodbath of more than 200,000 people killed. My city, as the major city in Europe, survived the longest siege in modern world history of Europe, longer than Leningrad in World War II. 1,264 days of a non-stop siege. We had over 14,000 people killed. I was a volunteer in the army. I was I was staff sergeant of Croatian Council of Defense, and 2 times wounded. Once in my arm and once in my head. Luckily, that didn't leave some major problems, as we can talk about the sales. For Christmas of '93, I met a BBC crew. They offered me a job in London, so I went to London on January 18th, 1994, and from that day until today, I don't eat rice. Because I ate rice for 2 years in Sarajevo for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and no more rice in my house. I was working on Insight News Television Limited in Battersea Park Television Studio Center, and then I met a crew from U1 in Zagreb, some British guys. They offered me a job in Zagreb in U1, so I went to U1 and I started working for U1 on January 31st, 1995. I was working there for a year. During that year, it was the Dayton Peace Agreement signed, so they offered me a job in Sarajevo to come back home where my parents were, as I'm the only child of my parents. So I went there and I started to work for NATO on February 14th, 1996. Working as a security supervisor of NATO headquarters for 16 years. So during that time also I finished my college as a lawyer. So as you can see by my background, I have nothing to do with the sales. I am a lawyer working for BBC, UN, and NATO, so nothing to do with the sales at all. Unfortunately, after 16 years, mission have closed, so I stayed without a job, and this is when my next chapter of life had to begin. In the meantime, of course, 1999, I got married, and I have 2 kids. Daughter Mia, who is now 20, and my son Borna, who is 18. In fact, they will be 21 and 19 this year. So, as a family person, I'm also fulfilled. And then I decided, after 3 years of not working, that it's my time to move.